I'm Lazy B, justice seeker, story keeper, and we're still watching, waiting for justice.
Hey, how are y'all? Have y'all watched this yet? I haven't watched it, but I've been excited all day to watch it with y'all. I listened to maybe a total of 10 or 20 minutes here and there. Of course, they started late. The jury is just now getting the case. So I don't think we'll have a verdict today, but I don't know. I don't know what the rules are with the judge, if how long she lets them deliberate and all that. Like if they have to go home by 8, everybody's different. But welcome. Hope y'all had a good Monday. Hey, Melissa, tennis girl. Coercive control is a crime. Always good to see you. And John Smith. Hey, Shayna, good to see you. Also, Take It to Trial. Do y'all watch their channel? Real quick, I'll show you. Sweet Pea had reached out and she said, hey, would you want to stream this together? And just with the work schedule, and I didn't know, how long it would be. So I said, let's just all play it by ear. But I have shared the link with her. She watched it on her channel today, but she is probably going to join at some point as well. And I've shared all that. Hey, good to see you, Pumpkin Porter. Yeah, I was shocked. So the defense or George elected, which we all know means that's what, I don't know, my hair is like, it's so humid here. He said not to include the lesser charge. So we'll see what happens. Hey, Race and Rodeo. Fresh with Life. It's so good to see you. Yeah, I'm like flip-flopping on what's going to be. Sidebar Snoop, you already watched the closing? The verdict should be interesting. Yeah. Hey, Jane for Justice, food truck. They are dismissing the jury. No, they just wrapped up closing. I mean, it's so I know Laura Adams originally, she went for an hour and 25 minutes, which we're about to start. And then I think they went to lunch. And then I believe the defense was on for about 2 hours. Y'all can tell me. And then she did her, what do they call that? Rebuttal or Miss Poffles, good to see you. Yeah, it is a fascinating case. Just when you think you've seen it all, then there's something else. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Y'all know the audio is bad. I'm going to keep looking now that the court has ended and the jury's got the case to see if like Law and Crime has condensed it down because sometimes they'll go ahead and buffer that sound. But I'm going to go ahead and start this for now. And here we go. Laura Adams with the state. Oh. Got closed captions on. I'm not going to hear my dog.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Wow.
3 weeks ago, you all came into this courtroom not knowing what kind of case you might be selected to serve on the jury.
Please need to keep your voice up.
Yes, ma'am. About 3 weeks ago, you all came to this courtroom and you sat through the jury selection process without any idea what kind of a case you were going to maybe be selected to sit in, listen to. No doubt, this has not been an easy case for anyone in this courtroom, but everyone in this courtroom owes each of you a true debt of gratitude for your service, for your attention, and for your thoughtfulness throughout this process. I want to talk with you all a little bit about what I said to you at the very beginning of this trial. I told you that this is a case about responsibility and accountability. Now that you've heard all the evidence in this case, you can see that this defendant is a man who abdicated all responsibility. As the captain of a ship owes to each one of his passengers. Now, done safely, of course, boating can be a lot of fun, and you know that. Look at the pictures that we have. There's so much evidence in this case. You have you all saw the photograph that Andy Fernandez took from his boat, looking across to the defendant's boat, where the teenagers are on the boat, they're in the water. What a great time. What a special day. That photograph was taken because Andy Fernandez was taken with how special it was that his teenage daughter said, "Mom, Dad, come on out to the sandbar." He really didn't want to. Thank God he did. Thank God he did. When boating is done safely, what a wonderful thing to do. But when people like this defendant do not take seriously their responsibility to their own passengers and to other boaters and passengers that might be in the area, disaster and catastrophe can happen. And though it may seem obvious, I wanted to highlight for you in this trial that boat crashes are a lot different than car crashes. When you're on a boat, you're basically like someone in the back of a pickup truck. On boats, you don't have the benefit of brakes, not even anti-lock brakes. You don't have seat belts. You don't have a steel cage surrounding you to protect you from impacting other objects. There's no airbags. And if, God forbid, something should happen and you fall out of that boat, you jump out of that boat, you're ejected from that boat, you run the risk of drowning, even if the injuries that you sustained weren't that serious. And we know that to be true because that's exactly what happened to Lucy Fernandez. Now, in this case, you have evidence beyond any reasonable doubt that this defendant disregarded basic navigational rules and concepts of safety. And he did so in a manner that made it a near certainty that tragedy would result. This tragedy, the death of Lucy Fernandez, was completely preventable. But after this abdication of duty that this defendant owed to his own daughter, to his wife, and to those 11 other teenage girls, these 13 other souls that were on his boat, what did he do? He lied over and over and over again about what happened. Why? To shift the blame away from himself and in an avoidance of accountability. That's why I told you at the beginning of this case, this is a case about responsibility or the lack thereof, and accountability and the complete lack thereof. So let's talk about what was happening on that Sunday. It's Labor Day, it's Biscayne Day. There's a little more boat traffic out there than usual because it's a holiday weekend. The defendant and his wife decide they're hosting a birthday celebration that weekend for their daughter who was going to be turning 18. That morning, some of the girls watched Mass on TV. We're talking still back in 2022. We're just kind of starting to come out of the pandemic. After that, pickleball tournament sponsored by the defendant. The girls defend tennis, pickleball. What a fun day. Knowing that the next thing they're going to do is go out to Billy's Point, go out to that sandbar. So everybody boards George Pino's boat to go party at the sandbar. And boy, what a party that was going to be, huh? They brought food, sure. The defendant's wife said, "Oh yeah, and my husband packed the drinks." What drinks? Beer, alcoholic seltzer, Prosecco, Chambord. Not just for the Pinos, for everybody. The kids, other people that they're going to meet up with. What a great time for these teens, huh? How irresponsible. But you get out to the sandbar, and what happens? Well, the defendant going out to that sandbar, you heard from Paul Albert, navigational expert, GPS expert, that when he went out to the sandbar, he goes relatively at a mild pace, not really at breakneck speed, and he kind of meanders in and out of the canal, out of the channel, which Mr. Albert told you is consistent with, navigating around other boats, things of that nature, until they get to where they're going to drop anchor. But they don't stay there because one of the other boats, as Mr. Fernandez told you, was too big to drop anchor there. So they go a little bit further north, and that's where they all stop. And they're there for almost 3 hours. What are they doing? People are drinking, they're socializing, they're swimming, they're listening to music, they're dancing. A lot of these 17-year-old girls were drinking alcohol that the defendant provided. You heard from Cammie, the first passenger who testified in this trial. She had consumed 10 alcoholic beverages. 10! I submit to you that as the fun and the drinks were flowing, the defendant kind of lost track of time. And he suddenly realizes, oh my goodness, it's getting to be close to 6:30. I've got to get all these people back to Ocean Reef. And everybody's got to get fixed up, glammed up for the party. Now, we heard testimony that the house that they were stationed at was like a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom house. Conservatively speaking, that means 4 girls per bathroom getting ready for the party that he had spent almost $2,000. So it makes sense that the GPS data that Mr. Albert showed us on the way back, he's making a beeline. He's not making all those track points. He's not deviating from course. He's in the mindset of like, set it and forget it. Get back to Ocean Reef as quickly as you can. So literally, with a boat full of buzzed teenagers, if not drunk teenagers, this man decides to set a course heading to that channel, a channel that he has gone through time and time again, a channel he knows where those markers are. In a boat that there's a stipulation between the state and the defense, an agreement. The boat was in fine working condition. There's nothing wrong with that boat. And he knows the specifications of that boat. He'd had it since 2020. So, with that boat, with those 10 girls at the bow of that boat, with an extra 1,000 pounds on that boat at the
Hey, everybody, welcome. So we're watching the closing arguments from today in the George Pino trial. The jury just got the case about maybe 10 minutes ago. And the, I think it was Sidebar Snoop, thank you, said that they are allowed to deliberate until 8 p.m. Eastern time. So that means they'll have it for about 3 hours. So we are in verdict watch, but we're watching the closings from today. And right now we've got the state up. This is her closing. So yeah, George Pino did not elect to testify, and he also waived his right, or whatever, what's the proper wording, to lesser charges. So I guess it's all or nothing, if you would say.
in front of that boat. He makes a beeline, and you heard from Mr. Albert. In order to reach the speeds that we see from the GPS, with that amount of weight on the boat, he was going full throttle. Full throttle, with all these teenagers on board that have been consuming alcohol as fast as he can through a narrow channel. Because if other boats want to go through that channel, if he's in the wrong way, then they've got nowhere to go. Because if they go outside the channel, he'll run aground. So with all of that going on, he decides to travel down the wrong side of the channel as fast as he can. We know that right before impact, he's going 47 miles per hour. Now, it's kind of a silly thing, but I think most people have seen folks, driving the cars and put their hand out the windshield or out the window and kind of feel the air over your arms. We take for granted in driving that it's not that fast because we have windshields, but if you didn't have that windshield, if you were on a nice paved road, if you were on a bumpy road, 47 miles an hour is lightning fast. And the reason why we saw those reenactments is because we wanted you, in as safe a way, but as realistic a way as possible, to understand the manner in which that man decided to operate his boat. Now, I talked about the teens that were buzzed. The defendant, for sure, consumed alcohol. The defense would have you believe that it was only the 2 beers that the defendant told Lieutenant Thompson. I'm going to submit to you that maybe the evidence suggests that just as he wasn't exactly truthful about how the crash happened, maybe he also wasn't so truthful about how much alcohol he had consumed. This defendant knew the channel, he knew that vessel, he knew the people on the vessel, he knew what they'd been doing on that vessel. Yet he chose, before this impact happened, to put his vessel on a heading 5 degrees to port, 5 degrees to the east. And that put him on a collision course with channel marker 15. And sure enough, by the time he realizes, oh no, it's too late. How did this crash happen? I'll tell you. Because he was reckless. He was criminally negligent. No one but this defendant captained that boat. No one but this defendant decided the speed that it should travel, and no one but this defendant decided the direction of travel. No one and nothing is responsible for the death of Lucy Hernandez, except for that man sitting right there. He is the reason why she is dead. Let's talk about that journey a little bit more.
Does anybody know what he's mumbling? Is that supposed to be like he's praying? If you're not watching, he's just like you see his lips moving, but
In these photos, states 3 and 10, which are in evidence, we see in number 10, a bunch of young girls having a great time. In number 3, we see that photograph that Andy Fernandez took. What a fun, happy day. Is it a horse?
so a lot of people are sharing if they think there's enough for a conviction or not. I've wavered back and forth. At first, I've been like, yes, there is enough. But then this weekend, I'm like, I don't know, maybe not. But I'll commit more once I see the closing. But would love to hear what y'all think. And also, he was offered 60 days in prison and a plea deal. Like, when was that? A couple years ago, and he turned it down. Ugh. Hmm.
You all saw it for yourselves. You all had the opportunity to go on that vessel, the vessel that turned out to be almost a gravesite for a 17-year-old little girl, because she was still a kid. That's where she sat.
So I fast forwarded it through the little singing because I got like a YouTube warning because of the friggin' Billy Joel song.
And that's where, when this recreation was done with FWC, with the assistance of Mr. Albert, someone sat in that very seat and filmed the route that that man took. Coming up on 13 and then 13A. Louis. 15. That's traveling at about the same speed that we know this defendant was traveling through that channel. Let's look at something again. You may remember that when I played these videos for you during the trial, I would stop the video just about at the point where it looks like the vessel is going to impact that channel marker. And then I asked Mr. Albert, who's sitting here, okay, so if that impact is, let's say we have 4 seconds left. What's 4 plus 9? Oh, no, that would be great. Why was I asking that? Because what we know from the GPS reconstruction of this crash, that 9 seconds prior to impact, the defendant chose to change the heading of his vessel slightly to the left, or in nautical terms, to port. And when he made that choice, that's when he put himself and all of those teenagers on a path toward near certain tragedy. He was the one that made that choice. And for 9 seconds, they were on that path. And, you say, 9 seconds, how long do you have to? Well, we can use technology to tell us just how long 9 seconds is. I have my iPhone here set for 9 seconds. Ready, set, go. That's a long time to not look at what's right in front of you. So let's look at this again. That's 13A. There's the buoy. The one that Mr. Albert explained that he put that buoy in place using his GPS device to replicate the location where the second to last track mark is. That tells us that this is the location where the defendant decides to change heading slightly to the left, to the outside part of the channel where it is not supposed to be, and then continue straight dead on until right before impact. Channel marker 15. This is a little bit of a ways away from you. All of the evidence that was introduced in this trial, you will have available during your deliberations to watch if you wish. You'll have a laptop and you can watch any of this video on. But look, right now we still have 41 seconds left in this video. Let's see how long it takes to get to that channel marker. Excuse me. So, do you not see how long he had the ability to see that channel marker and adjust course? But because he didn't, because he was operating with such complete disregard for the kids that were on his boat, Lucy winds up like this in the hospital. Because of the way he operated that boat, this is what the police had to deal with. That part of the clip was included in part so that you all would get a sense of when the police are responding to a life and death emergency, it makes sense for them to go as fast as they can. Not for dinner parties, for life and death emergencies. And you can see that these officers, even on Marine Patrol officers that are trained on a police boat, it's still bumpy. Even though we know that it was a clear day with calm seas, calm winds, you can see the officers, one of the flaps on his uniform is like waving in the breeze, because that's what it is to be on a boat. Air rescue, dropping a paramedic trying to get to Lucy, to try to save her life. But this is where you remember that Officer Bruto, well, he's not an officer anymore, he's retired, but he was the first police officer that testified in this case. And he told you about the difficulties that air rescue was having getting the paramedic onto the boat because the prop wash from the propellers was making the small boat start to spin. So Officer Bruto and another officer basically pinned that vessel between theirs so it can be stationary enough to safely drop the paramedic to try to save Lucy's life. Officer taking out life-saving equipment. CPR gets support. Backwards, transfer AC. The girl in the white bathing suit with little flowers, who just a little while earlier had been singing and dancing with her best friends. From there, we know the testimony is that the police boat raced as fast as it could to the Elliott Key Harbor, where a helicopter was waiting for her to try to get her to the hospital to save her life, the life that he endangered.
That is so gut-wrenching seeing Lucy's parents there. I mean, y'all look how heavy he is, her father. And I agree with like what she said. I mean, when you have people in your car, you're responsible for them. Would you on an interstate going 80 miles an hour, 70, 80, close your eyes for 9 seconds?
I talked with you before about that final track mark. Now is a good time to talk about it again. On the way up, we see him going northbound. Here he is coming south. Track point. Track point. From 6:37:19 to 6:37:28. 9 seconds. Straight. Had he not made the decision at 6:37:19 to make that turn to go to port side of the channel, number one, he would have been on the wrong side of the channel. Number two, he wouldn't have been on a collision course with channel marker 15, which you know, because you've seen it with your own eyes, is fully visible from where that track point is. This last track point is the one that really tells on the defendant. Because it is only here when the channel marker, which is 3 feet by 3 feet, painted day glow green, at the top of a steel pole, that's the first time that he comes out of his stupor or whatever he's zoned out or checked out doing. That's when he realizes, oh my God. And that's when he tries to turn the course. But he can't. He's going too fast. He has too many people on the boat. He can't turn because boats don't turn on a dime. He can't turn to avoid the collision because boats are steered from behind. So when he makes that turn, what happens? He slams the starboard side of his boat right into that channel marker. This tells you he's guilty. No responsible operator of a vessel would ever do this. And what's the result of the, I don't know, arrogance? The complete disregard? Nobody's saying he meant to hurt anyone. But just because you didn't mean to cause something terrible, if what you're doing is likely to cause something terrible to happen, the law says you're responsible. There are consequences for your actions. Sadly, beyond sadly, the consequences of those actions are in State's Exhibits 15 and 7. A healthy, happy, vivacious young woman with her whole life ahead of her. Goes from this to this with her own father. Tearfully, but with controlled emotion, telling you this was my Lucy. The defense would have you believe that the defendant was terribly broken up, and I have no doubt. Nobody would be happy about this. But imagine if a man has his first Christmas without their children, and this is what's posted on Instagram, this bereft man. This is what they see in December 2022. Their daughter is barely cold in her grave, and this is what's posted. Responsibility, accountability.
Holding up those pictures, that was powerful, showing her senior portrait to her body. They're lifeless after she passed, and then showing what the Pinos were doing up at Rosemary Beach from Miami up in the Panhandle. It reminds me of that case I told you all about in Nashville where they had a party for all the teens that had died. That had graduated, excuse me. And it was on a farm. And so they took everybody's keys. And the next morning, one of the boys was floating in the pond. So that all happened like June, July. That December, the people who held the party were posting pictures on their Facebook, like so happy to have everybody home for the holidays with all their kids home from college. And I remember thinking, that is so tasteless, because there's one mom we know that doesn't have her boy home.
Mr. Andy Fernandez told you when I asked him what he saw of his daughter hooked up with all those tubes. And his answer was, a parent's worst nightmare.
I won't pause this a lot, but Butterfly Lace, welcome. Great point. If your pilot had a few drinks before flying you to your destination, would you be okay with it?
I don't want to unplug this thing, but I hate being so far from the jurors. Aaron, may I have permission to use this? I'm covered. So, I want to say, first and foremost, this is not a complicated case. The facts are not really difficult. And in fact, many of the facts in this case are not in dispute. But what is in dispute, for sure, is what level of accountability does this defendant have? In jury selection, the judge told you, bias, prejudice, and sympathy have no.
Yeah, George was wanting to manipulate Andy, who is Lucy's dad, kept texting. Somebody from Miami did email with me, and they sent photos and things, so it's vetted. But there's a lot of history here. So before the trial, even before the major charges, the Pinos and the Fernandezes got in shouting arguments, leaving masks and things. There's a whole lot going on here.
Place in your deliberations in that jury room. But your common sense, the evidence, photos, what the witnesses say, and the law, that belongs. Common sense tells you that this defendant is guilty. Now, the defense through this trial has tried to downplay the enormity of this defendant's recklessness and criminal negligence by saying, it's just an accident. No, it's not. This defendant.
When people do go to prison for accidents, none of us think he did this intentionally, but it's an accident. He was responsible for it. Just like if somebody had people in their car and they ran a red light, didn't even realize they ran it, but they ran it and it caused a wreck and people in your car died, you would go to prison for manslaughter. Yes, it's an accident. It happens.
Was in a rush because he had paid money for the party for his girls. The way he operated that boat with so many people that had been drinking when he'd been drinking at a high rate of speed in a body of water that literally was called the I-95 of Biscayne Bay.
Oh, the other information I got out of Miami is that George Pino is known to not be much of a drinker. So I don't even know that he was drunk. I mean, we know the wife was trying to upload a video on her cell phone. The girls were doing whatever in their bikinis. He's a man. He wasn't watching the road. He wasn't watching the waterway. That's what it comes down to. And he was the responsible one. As Butterfly said, he's the captain. He's in charge. You're responsible.
Well, it establishes recklessness and culpable negligence. Why? For a party? Because he wanted to be the cool dad, the dad that brings alcohol out to the sandbar, the dad that plans the pickleball party, camp counselor George. He wasn't thinking about the navigational rules. He wasn't thinking about the well-being of the passengers. He wasn't thinking about the well-being even of his own wife and daughter when he was on that beeline to get back to the Ocean Reef Club. He was too wrapped up in trying to be the cool dad on that boat. He didn't mean to is not a defense, it's an excuse. Now, the judge is going to give you an instruction, and it's called excusable homicide. Common sense tells you that just because one person causes the death of another person, that in and of itself doesn't necessarily make it a criminal act. For example, the judge is going to read you an instruction. It's called Introduction to Homicide. And that instruction says that you have to consider whether or not the killing was lawful, whether it was justifiable or excusable. Now, of course, this is not a case of self-defense. But the law tells us that if there's a justified use of deadly force to defend a person, then that person will not be held criminally liable for that death. Common sense. Common sense also tells you that there can be accidents that happen, but there should be no criminal responsibility. And let me tell you what that instruction is. Excusable homicide if the killing is committed by accident and misfortune, which nobody's saying he intended this to happen, and obviously this is most unfortunate, but doing any lawful act, was he operating his vessel lawfully when he was on the wrong side of the channel, going so fast, not keeping a proper lookout? Was he operating it lawfully when he's not avoiding the risk of a collision, when he doesn't even avoid the collision? No. And by lawful means, is this the way that we expect people to operate their vessels on the waters of this state? Of course not. With usual, ordinary caution. Was there 1 ounce of usual, ordinary caution as he's speeding from this track point straight into that channel marker? Of course not.
There's been an objection in the motion.
And without any lawful intent. Now, I'm not saying he had an intent to cause any harm, but his intent also was not to safeguard his own passengers. So when you hear this instruction, listen to it, pay close attention to it, but then ask yourself, does the evidence support a claim that this is an excusable homicide? I submit to you the answer is a resounding no. Best analogy that I could give for people that don't really go on the water too much would be this. Imagine if a person decides to drive a pickup truck with 12 girls in the back. They're not restrained in any way. And that person is going down a rather bumpy road, not a smoothly paved road. Because even on the water on clear days, you're still bumping along that water. And that person who's driving that pickup truck with all those people in the back on a bumpy road decides to drive on the wrong side of the road. And let's suppose that at the end of that road, it dead ends and there's a telephone pole at that dead end. And although that person who's driving the pickup truck can clearly see that telephone pole, at least if they're paying attention, for 9 seconds, that person driving that pickup truck slams into that telephone pole, and one or more of the girls hurt badly, maybe even dies. Didn't mean to kill anybody, but are we really going to say that that is acceptable conduct? Are we really not going to hold somebody criminally liable when they have precious cargo on board and pay no attention to what's right in front of their face? Of course not. Your common sense tells you that's not the world that we live in. Those are not the laws. That makes sense. This was not an excusable homicide because the defendant was more worried about being the fun dad, the party dad, the cool dad, than he was worried about being responsible dad, safe dad. He created an environment by supplying that alcohol, by not managing how much those girls are drinking, by drinking himself, out there on the water, having played pickleball earlier, been in the sun, in the salt water. He created the scenario where this happened. And that's why Lucy is dead. I know that the defense will have an opportunity to address you when I'm finished. And I have no doubt that they will say that they are very sorry that Lucy is dead. Nobody wanted that to happen. And I'm sure that that is 100% heartfelt. But when you hear any kind of statement like that, I want you to keep your ears out for the inevitable, but so sorry she's gone, but what a tragedy she's gone, but you know what the rest of that sentence is. It was only an accident. accidents happen. Well, you know this wasn't just an accident. An accident is if you accidentally blow through a stop sign and somebody gets into a fender bender. This isn't blowing through a stop sign. This is blowing into the stop sign on the wrong side of the road when you've been drinking. It's not an accident. I want to take you back to when this defendant's wife took the witness stand. I asked her, showed her Lucy's photograph. Right at this witness stand. She's sitting here and she's looking at this picture of a young person that she had known for Lucy's whole life. And in the same breath that she identifies this picture of Lucy, she tells you it was an accident. I made note of the exact back and forth exchange. This was me asking her, do you know how it is that your husband wound up smashing into channel marker 15? Answer, the accident? How it occurred? How did he wind up crashing into it? I do not know. Me, why not?
Okay, Kim has asked, hi, Leslie, new to this case. Why wasn't he investigated immediately for blood alcohol? They asked for it, and he said no because he didn't have an attorney present. That was about, I think, an hour and a half following the accident. And law enforcement people on the scene said he really wasn't exhibiting anything. And then 5 hours post crash, they did a blood draw for it. So I don't know if at that point they had a warrant or what. And so some years passed, and then I believe one of the EMTs came forward and thought he did show signs of alcohol. And so that is what pushed this case forward. That's what I've been told. But his blood alcohol that was taken 5 hours post crash was 0.0. So that's why he's not charged with like a boating under the influence. But it's just being a negligent captain.
Her. I was looking at my phone and trying to send a text to the moms. A video of the video of the girls dancing. I was trying to send it to the moms, and I remember looking at the blue line and being upset that it wasn't going through the text. And I was looking at my phone. Me. I'm showing you a photo. Who is it? Her. Lucy. Me. And she died because your husband crashed into that channel marker, right? Her. With the same breath that she had just identified this young woman, she has this to say. She died because there was an accident. What? How do you know it was an accident? You were too busy watching your cell phone. You were too busy drinking your Prosecco's and your Chambord out of Yeti tumblers to know what happened that day. But you want to take this witness stand under oath and say that this was an accident? The expressions of sorrow for Lucy and her family mean nothing in this court of law because this is not a case to be decided on based on sympathy. Not for Lucy, not for her family, not for the other girls who went through this horrible traumatic experience, not for the defendant's wife, and not for him either. It's not a case about who cried the loudest, who held back the tears. It's a case about what is the facts, what is the law. That's why every day when we see you, Judge Tinkler-Mendez asks you the same series of questions. Have you paid attention to this case outside of this courtroom? Have you heard anything about it? Because truly, we need you to make this decision, not based on sympathy, not based on what's out there in the interweb of it all. We need you to base your decision on what happened in this courtroom. The defense seems to want you to believe that, well, if the defendant didn't see the channel marker, then he's not responsible. If you didn't see it, it's because you weren't looking. What were you doing? Were you watching your wife as she's trying to get these text messages out to the other parents? Were you looking at your own phone? Were you drinking something? What were you doing? You sure as heck weren't watching out for that neon green channel marker that you knew was there. And because of that inattention, his boat wound up upside down under the water. The defense also seems to be suggesting that, well, if he didn't mean for it to happen, he's not responsible. If he meant to kill Lucy, he'd be charged with murder. If he deliberately smashed into that channel marker, same thing, he'd be charged with murder. Why is the defense defending against a charge I never filed? The defense kept asking the girls that were on the boat who came and testified, and the defendant's wife, did he look like he was impaired by alcohol? Well, I did not charge him with BUI, voting under the influence manslaughter. You know why? I can't prove what his blood alcohol level was at the time he smashed into that channel marker. I can't prove beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt that he was impaired by alcohol at the time he smashed in that channel marker. So you know what? I didn't charge him with that offense. Again, why is the defense defending against something he's not even charged with? Now, he claimed to the police that he had 2 beers. Well, frankly, it seems like 2 beers might be a little bit underreported.
Just two. I don't know who that is next to Lucy's mom. Could be one of maybe Lucy's best friend's moms, would be my guess. I'm not sure who she is, but it's a packed house in there.
What he actually consumed, but can't prove
Yeah.
how much more than that he might have had. So we didn't charge him with BUI manslaughter. Think about
And just hi to everybody that's joined. Sorry, I'm trying to keep it flowing. Deidre and the two, and Pamela and Karen and Jenny, my beauty, and everybody. The two allowed her kids to have a party, and 300 police showed up, or 300 kids showed up plus police. Yeah, that's what they'll do. Yeah, never again. I hear you.
how many times you may hear the defense say, you didn't look impaired, you didn't look impaired, but who was it that was making this judgment, at least from the voting perspective? The teenagers and the defendant's own wife, all of whom had been drinking alcohol. You think maybe people that have been drinking alcohol are not in the best position to say who did or didn't look like they were a little bit buzzed or more? And then that brings up another question for you all to consider. Why even drink beer at all? When you're the captain, when you're responsible for all these lives. Gatorade, non-alcoholic seltzers, water, iced tea. Why did people drink beer? They drink it to get buzzed. And Lieutenant Thompson told the defendant, and this courtroom, it's not per se against the law to have a beer and operate a boat. But if you do drink and drive, or if you do drink and operate a boat, better be really mindful. Because I think it's common knowledge that before somebody looks like they're stumbling down drunk, alcohol's already playing games with your brain.
Thanks, Melissa. You said at the beginning of today, the judge said, if you are not a family member or directly involved in a case, please go to the overflow room at the courthouse. So yeah, it could be a relative or could have been another girl on the boat's parent. Hey, Crows and Gallows, good to see you, and Leanne. Um, so I was just reading this that the judge dismissed 4 alternate jurors. So there were 6 alternates, right? Because there's going to be 6 on the jury, and then there were 12 total. So 6 were alternates. So maybe she kept 2. Because usually you keep the alternates until there's a verdict, but maybe she went ahead and dismissed 4. Does anyone know? And was one of them the man that said his boss was going to whip his ass or something if he didn't show up for work soon? Hey, Law Lover, good to see you.
We all know that alcohol can make people make maybe not such good decisions, and maybe influence your ability to pay attention and to concentrate. But again, he's not charged with being wrong. He's charged with being reckless. He's charged with being criminally negligent. And the defense also brought up through the officers that see the defendant, well, you didn't see any signs that he was impaired? Of course not. The police are seeing him some decent amount of time after the crash, time after he'd been holding onto his boat, right? Time that he had to kind of clear his thoughts, be in the water, assess his surroundings. Tammy, the first passenger who testified, the one that told you she'd had 10 drinks.
So 4 of 6, you said there were only 10 jurors. But the other night when we were counting feet, I think we counted 12. There were 6 men and 6 women, unless 2 had already been dismissed. That's really risky.
A 17-year-old with 10 drinks in her system snapped to it enough that she was able to help try to rescue Kathy, Mia. She said, I was buzzed when I got on that boat to go back to Ocean Reef. But being in that water and seeing the emergency situation sobered her up at least enough that she was able to do things like try to save her friends' lives, the friends that he endangered. So, to say that by the time the police see the defendant, he doesn't look like any signs that they can see impairment, that's just the function of time, adrenaline, and being in an emergency situation. For sure, the defendant knew in the moments after this wreck, this was not good seamanship. This goes beyond not just following navigational rules. This goes beyond anything like that. This is criminal conduct. And that's why he couldn't wait when he's brought to Elliott Key Harbor and Lieutenant Thompson just wants to ask him about, hey, where do you keep your boat? Do you have a trailer for your boat? Because he's thinking, I have to get this boat out of the water. And what does the defendant do? He's so anxious to blame somebody else, that lack of accountability, that he starts answering, and you can listen to the tape yourselves, because you'll have the jump drive with all of this defendant's statements to Lieutenant Thompson. And what you'll hear and see is that in those moments when the lieutenant is just coming up to him and asking him, hey, do you have a trailer for your boat? Where do you house your boat? He's talking about, oh, there was this other boat coming in the opposite direction. Thompson is not even listening to that. He's like, whatever. And he keeps going back and asking, where do you keep your boat? Then he finally gets the information that the lieutenant wants. But he's still yammering on about some other boat. Then, when he sits down with the lieutenant at that picnic table, he builds on that lie. And he starts giving more details about this phantom boat that came along.
Yeah, so 6 jurors are deliberating because this is a manslaughter case, so it's not, I think in murder 1, it's 12. And they've been deliberating for an hour.
He's given his Miranda rights. He's told anything you say can be used against you in court. He doesn't care. He still wants to get that lie out. And under oath, he signed a written statement was the other woman's fault. But he didn't stop that night. He was untruthful to his attorney. You heard from his attorney twice in this case. I called him the first time just to explain what interrogatories were, and that in fact, both the defendant and his wife signed these interrogatories answering questions under oath about what happened. But then he was called back a second time by the defense. Boy, he couldn't say enough great things about George Pino and how he wanted to settle things with the police as fast as he could. But then I brought out the fact that, oh, really interesting, because within 6 months you had filed a motion to limit his liability. And you had also filed a motion to dismiss claims of their lawsuit. Okay, this is not a civil case. And the only reason why any of that is relevant is because it shows the persistence of the lie. That he not only lied to the police, he lied to his own lawyer, who then took those lies and incorporated them into legal pleadings. And he wasn't just lying to his lawyer. He was lying to the court system. He was lying to the family of Kati Puig in answering those questions in the way that he did, because he was so desperate to avoid accountability. Why? Because he knew this was not just an accident. People don't lie about accidents. You fess up, you say, my bad, I didn't see the stop sign. I should have stopped, I'm so sorry. But this was so much more. That's why he lied to the court system, lied to his lawyer, lied to the Puig's lawyer, and the Puigs themselves, a family that his family had known for years. Now, with that being said, I want to make it clear, he's not charged with perjury. The only relevance of those lies is to show that he knew. He had a consciousness of guilt. Because anyone that has as much experience as he has on the water knows there's no excuse on earth to justify the way he operated that boat. And you know, it's kind of stunning behavior from the man whose wife described him as, oh, he was like the one for Camp George, right? He was the father who wanted his children to get the best education. That's from his wife. He was the father that wanted to instill in his children an understanding of right from wrong. That sometimes actions have consequences, and that it's important to take responsibility for your actions. That's what she said he taught his daughters. To try to explain away all these lies, the defense called Dr. Diana Barrett, a concierge neurologist who saw the defendant twice.
Hey, Sweet Pea from Take It to Trial. I sent you the link, so you're going to join. If you use StreamYard too, it will stream on your channel.
Watched a video of him, heard some things that he said, and did work to do one thing and one thing only: answer questions posed by the defense. Did he have a traumatic brain injury, a TBI? Could it have caused amnesia and or false memories without the intent to deceive? And how long would those false memories last? And she got about $30,000 to do that. This is the witness
that the defense relied on. A woman who is in private practice and won't accept insurance from patients who may need her care. It's a pretty far cry from the woman that used to do work for Camilla's house. A woman who just took her marching orders from the defense to answer 3 self-serving questions. She said the MRI that she'd been given didn't matter. The Montreal cognitive test that she gave didn't matter. During my cross-examination of her, she had to admit there was no test that she could give to the defendant, no test, to prove that he had amnesia or created false memories without the intent to deceive. She had to admit when I asked her about the defendant's Glasgow coma scale. Doesn't mean you're in a coma, but that is a tool that EMS, firefighters, paramedics use to assess a person's level of consciousness. I said to her, after I introduced the fire rescue report for this defendant, what was he assessed that night, September 4th of 2022? What was his Glasgow coma scale? 15. What's the highest possible Glasgow coma scale? 15. Every single one of our jurors, every single attorney in this courtroom, 15. She admitted that the defendant simply got 7 staples in his head to close the wound, and he was released from the hospital the very next day. She admitted she hadn't even laid eyes on the defendant until this past February, about 3.5 years after the crash. And she admitted that the defendant told her the only treatment he received was some therapy and psychiatric medications. And I'm not putting that stuff down. But that is not indicative of a person that had a traumatic brain injury such that he's confabulated like a person with dementia would. Boy, I tell you what, she did not want to admit. I asked her, last thing, when she was on the witness stand, Dr. Barrett, let me make sure I understand. You were hired to evaluate the defendant's memory surrounding the crash, but you never asked him what he remembered of the crash. It's a simple yes or no question. Yes, I did. No, I didn't. But you know that the answer is no, she didn't ask him. And she kept wiggling around. Well, I didn't think that would be important. No. Let me ask again. And note this, when the judge reads you the instructions, one of the instructions is going to ask you, was the witness honest and straightforward in answering the attorney's questions? I said to her again, no, Dr. Barrett, I want to ask you again. You were there to assess his memory of the crash, but you never asked him what he remembered of the crash. Ultimately, she kind of says no, but the answer is no. Because if she had, she would have said, yes, here's what he told me. She didn't want to admit what a tremendous lack of expertise went into that $30,000 that she burned. I don't blame her. That's her choice. But you should consider her credibility when you think about the fact that she didn't ask something that basic. She told you she based her decision that he had amnesia and, how did she say it? False memories without the intent to deceive, based on just these 4 things. Who sat behind him? He couldn't remember which 2 girls were behind him. What the horsepower of his engines were, he said 225, they were 300. That he couldn't remember exactly what happened right after impact. And that he said that it was Nati that he recovered under the boat, not Lucy initially. But there's an explanation for that she wouldn't have known, but you know. When the defense called Hamlet Rodriguez, he was one of the good Samaritans that gets to the scene. We know that Hillary Candela, who was friendly with the defendant and knew the police and knew the Fernandez family, when Hillary Candela gets there, I have him yell from the witness stand, which I know seems weird to yell in court, but he yells to show you, George, if you don't go down under there, I'm going to do it. That's got to be about the time when Hamlet Rodriguez is getting there, because Hamlet says when he's yelling at him to go under the boat, the defendant does go under the boat. But
What does Hamlet Rodriguez tell us that Hillary doesn't see? The defendant grabs a girl from under the boat, and does he take her to another Good Samaritan vessel? Nope. He passes her off to Hamlet Rodriguez. And he's the one who told you, who takes Lucy to the boat where you just saw the video, where people are doing CPR, where the Marine Patrol puts her on the backboard.
We're watching this on replay. The jury has been deliberating for about an hour and 20 minutes, and they can stay there until 8 p.m. Eastern time. I would be shocked if we had a verdict today, but I am watching that online too.
Gets her on the Go Fast police boat to get her to the harbor. So it makes sense that the defendant, in just those brief moments that he has of passing Lucy's body, maybe he didn't really take a good look at her. So all four of those things, he couldn't remember who was behind him. Even Dr. Barrett said, I kind of can understand that. Why would you be looking behind you if you're going forward? The 225 versus 300 horsepower, okay, whatever, you got a detailed talk. Not remembering exactly what happened right after the fact, totally understandable. This was a terrifying thing for everyone, I'm sure, including the defendant. And then the fact that initially he said that he thought it was Nazi, but then he realized, oh, no, it was Lucy. That's what she based the amnesia and the false memories without intent to deceive. But what I want to propose to you is that you don't need an expert witness. Maybe look at the totality of circumstances and say, no, this wasn't a false memory without an intent to deceive. This was a false statement made exactly with an intent to deceive. When he said the other boat caused the crash, it was a false statement and it was intended to deceive. And I submit to you, if he was willing to give a false statement with an intent to deceive about how the crash happened, maybe he was also willing to give a false statement with an intent to deceive about how much beer he had at that sandbar. They can't prove it, so they didn't charge it, so why are they defending against it? During this trial, you've heard the defense try to blame a number of different things in this case. Blame the sun, right? Maybe the sun kept him from being able to see the channel marker. But Mr. Albert told you that at the defense request, overnight, after he had testified and I had rested my case, he did some calculations and he saw, based on the NOAA National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, based on their data, he knew that at the time that that second to last track point was, the sun would have been to the defendant's right-hand side. The sun isn't blinding him from seeing the channel marker, so forget that. The defense attorney says to Detective Dow, the drone operator, oh, well, this photograph, the water looks green. The channel marker is green. Maybe the channel marker wasn't so visible. First off, Detective Dow's like, no, actually, that's just a function of the not so great printing of this photograph. Plus, when you're higher up, the water looks more green, but when you're closer, which you guys can see from the videos, the water's blue. You really think the Coast Guard didn't take into account, let's make the channel markers as hard to see as possible. So that doesn't work. Oh, remember, they also asked, hey, could channel marker 13A, the one before channel marker 15, could have blocked the defendant's view of channel marker 15? Mr. Albert, who, in contradiction to Dr. Barrett, Mr. Albert said, I did that extra work, I'm not charging anybody for it. That's integrity. And what Mr. Albert said in answer to the defense attorney's question is that the only way that channel marker 13 blocks channel marker 15, if you're so far back, you wouldn't be able to see channel marker 15 anyway. So that excuse doesn't work. The defense talks about, well, but if you zoom in on the chart plotter, it looks like maybe the channel marker is a little bit further off. And that's when, it was kind of hokey, but it illustrated the point. I grabbed my iPhone and I showed you all a picture of the Mona Lisa. And if you zoom in on the picture, it doesn't look like it's the Mona Lisa anymore, even though it is. And that's exactly what they did with the GPS screen. Then they come in and try to say, oh, it's the girl's arms. They're singing and dancing. But I asked Claudia Portocarrero, who was the first girl that the defense called as a witness, okay, you guys were singing and dancing, we've seen the video, but at the time you're going almost 50 miles an hour, facing backwards on bumpy water. Like in those moments before the crash, were you guys standing up? Were you guys waving your arms around? No, of course not, because who's gonna be doing that unrestrained in the front of a boat? It doesn't make any sense. So that excuse doesn't work. And then, this might be my favorite, the tides. It was high tide, so maybe the sign wasn't visible, as if the Coast Guard isn't aware of the fact that tides rise, tides lower. And they're gonna take that into account when they're placing channel markers that are there to keep boaters and passengers, everybody on the water safe. So none of these excuses hold up. When this trial began with jury selection, you all were instructed by the judge that this defendant is presumed innocent. And each and every one of you said you can abide by that presumption. Had you not, you would not be here. We live in a country, we are blessed to live in a country where people do not have to presume their innocence. That's not how it is everywhere in the world. Here, the government accuses you of something. The government better have the evidence to back up those allegations. Now, there's an instruction that the judge is going to give to you. That while the defendant is presumed innocent at the beginning of the trial, that presumption of innocence can be overcome if the prosecution does two things. To overcome the defendant's presumption of innocence, the state must prove, one, that the crime or crimes that he's charged with were committed, and two, that the defendant committed those crimes. So I'm going to take a little bit of time now to go over those crimes, the evidence, and what the law is, to try to give you a roadmap for when you go back into the jury room that you can follow to come to the correct and legal and wise verdict. So first, the defendant committed the crimes. That's basically a way of saying, is the right person charged in this case? There's no testimony that anyone other than that defendant operated that boat. Cammie said it, Haro said it, Claudia said it, Nati said it, his own wife said it. He said it himself in the statements to Lieutenant Thompson. He said it in interrogatories. So there was nobody else operating that boat. So we're already basically halfway there.
Hey, well, excuse me. Whoa. Welcome, everybody. I'm Leslie B. Thanks for being here. I think she's about to wrap, and then the defense will be up based on what I thought I had figured out earlier. And I appreciate it. If you do hit like, thanks, Jenny, for asking for that. But welcome, Semini. Welcome, Eddie Haskell. And Little Miss Red Velvet. Always good seeing you. The two. Appreciate it. And a lot of y'all are asking, what is he writing on paper? I would imagine attorneys encourage them to do that just so they're not like glaring or giving an RBF face, you know? That's my guess. Whether they're doodling or what, I don't think it's a bad thing just to kind of get rid of some energy, right? But from what some people are saying, that it's 6 on the jury, 5 are men, 1 is a woman. If I had to guess, I'm going to say tomorrow afternoon on a verdict. But I haven't seen the defense yet, so we're going to see that. That's just my guess.
We're already halfway there to a guilty verdict because we've established without any question, he's the person at the helm of that vessel.
He was the captain of that ship. So now we just gotta look at, did I prove the crimes of manslaughter and vessel homicide? And although the judge is going to instruct you first about manslaughter and then vessel homicide, I just want to go over with you the crime of vessel homicide first. The elements for vessel homicide are simple. First, that Luciana Cristina Fernandez is dead. We know she is. Second, that the death was caused by the operation of a vessel by George Pino. Nobody but this defendant operated that vessel. And third, that he operated the vessel in a reckless manner, likely to cause the death of or great bodily harm to another person. The instruction tells you the defendant to be guilty of that crime does not have to have intended to harm anyone. So why would the defense say, well, he didn't mean it? Of course not. If he meant it, he wouldn't be charged with these offenses, he'd be charged with something else. The judge will tell you that recklessness is more than just failure to use regular care. She will tell you that recklessness can take place in two different forms. I'm going to suggest to you both are present in this case. First, that the acts are done in a willful way. Willful doesn't mean you will Lucy Fernandez to die, but willful means you deliberately set the course, set the speed, you deliberately operated that vessel. This vessel was not on autopilot. He was the one making the decisions. Were they wise decisions? No. Did he intend the consequences of the decisions? No. But he is the one that steered the boat. He's the one that decides how fast it goes. That makes this conduct willful. Also, she will tell you that recklessness can result from what's known as wanton behavior. What is wanton? It is a conscious and intentional indifference to the consequences, right? Not that you want those consequences, but you're not paying attention to what the consequences might be. And that damage is likely to be done to persons or property. When you set your vessel on a course and then are basically flying blind for as long as 9 seconds into a channel marker that you know is there, that's a wanton disregard for the safety. So, did he intend the outcome? No. Did he intend the death? No. Did he intend to hit the channel marker? No. But did he intend to change course? Did he intend to be operating at full throttle? The answer to that is yes. And that's what endangered everyone on his vessel, including himself. What witness tells you that? What witness tells you how fast he was going and what direction he was traveling? You know the one. I told you at the beginning of this trial. The witness that didn't have a voice. The witness that had the perfect memory. The witness that isn't influenced by bias, prejudice, sympathy, money, or power. The witness is GPS. The GPS, that track point that I showed you, tells you everything you need to know about this defendant's recklessness. And the person who testified about that GPS data, Mr. Albert, he says to you at great length, at my prompting, about his training and his experience, that his day job is lieutenant in the Internal Affairs Division, the town of Palm Beach Police Department. He tells you about his years and years of experience in police work, both with that agency as well as with Florida Fish Wildlife Conservation Commission. He tells you about the years and years that he's been a boater since he was a kid. And he tells you about the years and years of experience and training he has in GPS, which ironically just stemmed from his love of fishing. You recall he told me I had to start learning how to use GPS so I could find my favorite fishing holes. And I know that testimony might have seemed a little bit dry.
But it was really important for you all to understand the quality of the witness that he is. With all that law enforcement and personal experience in voting, with all the training and experience he's had in interpreting and analyzing GPS data to the point where now he's a senior trainer at the NASDAQ, I can't remember what it stands for, but that's how good he is at what he does. And it was important for you to understand that we're not giving you junk science. And so when he went through with you step by step, and you have all those track marks, you can look at them in the jury room, of how the defendant meandered his way up to the sandbar, but then was like zooming back. When he's telling you, this is how fast that vessel was traveling and this is the direction it took, and he had to be the one to make the choice to go that fast and to head in that direction, that's all the proof you need to know that this was reckless. And so when you go back in the jury room and you have the verdict form in front of you, as to the crime of whether or not the defendant committed vessel homicide for operating his boat recklessly, the verdict is guilty. So as to the offense of vessel homicide, I submit to you that that charge is proven beyond a reasonable doubt. If there was no one else on the defendant's boat but his wife, and if he had followed that path that he took, and if she had wound up dead, forget about the other kids, forget about the alcohol, forget about all of that. Just the manner in which he operated that boat, head on into a channel marker that was easily visible, that he knew was there, and disregarding anything around him to just fly into it, he's guilty of vessel homicide. But the thing is, you can't ignore all these other factors that were in play that afternoon. You can't ignore the fact that he had brought the alcohol, that those kids had unlimited access to it, that he wasn't moderating anybody's drinking. He's drinking. He has a boat full of vulnerable teenagers who are not going to probably be at their very best if, God forbid, something should happen. He made the choice to be consuming alcohol. He made the choice to be operating his boat through I-95 of Biscayne Bay as fast as it could go. And so when the judge reads you the instruction for manslaughter, she's going to read you the definition of what culpable negligence is. Manslaughter can be proven in this case in one of two different ways. And just like I said, we've proven both aspects of being reckless. I'm going to submit to you, we've proven both aspects of manslaughter. And this is why. First, you can be guilty of manslaughter if you commit an intentional act, even if you don't want to cause death, but your intentional act causes.
Hey, everybody. Welcome, Sweet Pea from Take It to Trial. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi, we're happy you're here.
Look, I'm like so confused, like all in the middle of everything.
It's all
Okay,
right.
so now I see a little button now that I'm here. It says stream this to your audience.
Yeah.
So that
Cool.
makes sense, right?
All right. So I'm going to press mute and keep playing. I think Laura's wrapping
Okay.
up.
To death, that's manslaughter. And the importance of Mr. Albert's testimony is because those track points are dropped when direction is changed. And we know the speed of the vessel based on the distance it takes or the time it takes to travel a given distance. And we know that because he was traveling, accelerating for over 9 seconds, that's not one of those speed spikes that I told you all that can happen if you're talking about very short distances. But this is a long distance over a relatively long period of time. So we know that he is intentionally committing acts, not with the intention of death, not with the intention of hitting the channel marker, but the intentional acts that he is engaged in do cause a death. That's manslaughter. But the other way that you can be guilty of manslaughter is if your actions in their totality result in a death if your actions meet the definition of culpable negligence. It's the judge's job to instruct you on the law, so I will wait for Judge Tinkler Mendez to read to you the definition of culpable negligence. It's gonna sound a lot, honestly, like the definition of recklessness, but it's a little bit more. And so he's charged not just with the vessel homicide, because it wasn't just one person on board. It wasn't somebody who hadn't been consuming alcohol. It wasn't someone that didn't have a scenario where it's just him and his wife. This is a scenario where teenagers are on the line. The level of danger that he exposed everyone to cries out for something more than just vessel homicide. And that's why he's also charged with manslaughter. And you may say to yourself, well, how can one person be charged with two different homicide charges if there's only one death? And the answer is because, yes, of course this is recklessness. So you can find him guilty of vessel homicide. But it's also, he committed an intentional act and he acted with culpable negligence. And so to be as descriptive of what his conduct was on that September afternoon, he's charged with both crimes. And I said that the evidence in this case proves both of those crimes beyond a reasonable doubt. So then we go back to this. Is the defendant's presumption of innocence overcome? I've proven these crimes were committed and that this defendant is the one who committed them. You will have access to all the videos, photographs. You will have access to the documents that are in evidence, those interrogatories, the prior arrest report, all of that will be for you to review, to think about what the witnesses said, how they acted, who was believable and who was not. And I'm confident that when you do that in this case, you will find that the defendant is guilty both of manslaughter and assault. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope you'll give your same kindness and attention to my opposing counsel.
All right, thank you, counsel. You just give me a moment. The rest of the order is over. Thank you.
All right. What'd y'all think of Laura? So we'll go up to the defense. We have to scroll through lunch. And Sweet Pea, if you want to come on mute, you can. And then just be sure that you don't have YouTube on with me talking because it'll echo, if that makes sense. I think you're on mute. Here, I'll unmute you. Well, I can't unmute you. I was trying.
You probably couldn't unmute me because I have myself muted.
Well, we're happy you're here.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
What did everybody in your chat think earlier? Did they think that, what do they think? What's the consensus?
These closing arguments are.
Can you turn up your mic a little? I can't really hear.
Yeah. Can you hear me better now?
Oh, yes, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Baker, okay.
I think that my audience, like, at least with the state's closing, like, they're very, very long. Or are you asking me in regards to guilt or innocence?
Yeah, guilty or, what they think the verdict will be.
Most guilty.
Mm. What do you
Yeah,
think
we
about
think about
him waiving the lesser charges?
I think it was a good play. I think it's going to be kind of like another trial that we
What?
just recently.
We have a verdict?
Already?
Oh.
Really? It's hung then. No, it can't be hung if it come back this fast. Right?
Oh,
yeah.
okay, here we go.
Wow. They're going to find him not guilty, y'all.
Everyone, please be seated. Thank you. Lady and gentlemen, I understand the jury has reached a verdict. Is that correct? Yes. Right. A foreperson, please hand the verdict form to Renee. Thank you. And clerk, please publish the verdict.
In the Circuit Court of the 11th Judicial Circuit in Miami County, Florida, State of Florida versus George Pino. Case number F24-22896. Judge Marisa Tinker. Verdict. We, the jury, find unanimously as follows. As to count one of the information, manslaughter of Luciana Cristina Fernandez, the defendant is not guilty. So say we all on this 22nd day of June 2026, signed by the foreperson CF. In the Circuit Court of the 11th Judicial Circuit in Miami-Dade County, Florida, State of Florida versus George Pino. Case number F24-22896. Judge Marisa Tinker. Verdict. We, the jury, find as follows. As to count two of the information, vessel homicide of Luciana Cristina Fernandez, the defendant is not guilty. So here we are, on this 22nd day of June 2026, signed by the foreperson CF.
Does counsel for either the state or the defense wish for the jury to be polled?
Yes, Your Honor.
Madam Clerk, please poll the jury with initials.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen of this jury, you heard me read the verdict. As I call your name, if this is your verdict, please answer yes. If this is not your verdict, please answer no. Mr. A.L., initials A.L. Yes or no?
Yes.
Initials C.F. Yes. C.S.
Yes.
L.M.
Yes.
J.M.
Yes.
and C.A.
Yeah.
C.A.
No, I'm a, yes.
Judge.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time and consideration of this case. I also wish to advise you of some very special privileges that are enjoyed by jurors. No juror can ever be required to talk about the discussions that have occurred in the jury room except by court order. For many centuries, our society has relied upon juries for consideration of difficult cases. We have recognized for hundreds of years that a jury's deliberations, discussions, and votes should remain their private affair as long as they wish it. Therefore, the law gives you a unique privilege not to speak about the jury's work. Although you are at liberty to speak with anyone about your deliberations, you are also at liberty to refuse to speak to anyone. A request may come from those who are simply curious or from those who might seek to find fault with you. It will be up to you to decide whether to preserve your privacy as a juror. I want to thank you all again for the sacrifices that you have made over the last 3 weeks, for your time and consideration in this case. What I have for each one of you is really just a token of our appreciation, which is a certificate of appreciation, and a small symbol of the great appreciation all of us have for you and for your participation in our system of justice. What I'm going to ask you to do is, as I discharge you, you will go with Renee, and Renee will take you out, and he will provide you with your juror certificate. All right? I'm going to ask everyone, please, in the courtroom, to please remain in the courtroom for a few moments and allow the juries to exit. Thank you.
All right.
Everyone, please remain in the courtroom. Be seated. Thank you. For purposes of the record, there are no errors or omissions in the verdict form. Filling out the verdict form is legally sufficient. Mr. Pino, the jury is finding not guilty as to both counts of the information in this case. Are there any other matters involving Mr. Pino?
Not for the
this court
state.
For this court to address?
Not for the state.
Anything else? All right, there are no holds in Mr. Pino, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if we would give the jury a few moments, please, to exit exiting the courtroom in the courthouse. And I want to thank everyone again for your respect for this court. We'll take a moment now, and I have no further matters for me to address, and at this time, we are in recess. Thank you.
I'm shocked, but I'm not shocked. What do you think, Sweet Pea?
I'm not shocked at all. I kind of figured it was gonna be not guilty.
You did?
Yeah, even though I know it was a a life loss and somebody was severely injured, right? I just don't think the state had enough to prove what they were looking for, and it goes into what we were going to discuss before the verdict came in regards to the lesser charges. No, they absolutely did a good job with just telling the state, eat what you said.
Mm-hmm.
It's either going to be all or nothing. And that's what happened because they didn't have anything lesser.
Yeah.
So if they would have had the lesser charge, they possibly would have did like a MS or, involuntary or something like that. I think that manslaughter was a lot to me. In my opinion, for him. For what? And especially he had his entire family on the boat. I just don't think it was, and they didn't have levels in regards to, his blood levels that would have supported it. I mean, I don't think it was anything malicious about it. I think it was an accident, unfortunately. So.
It was, but people have accidents and still go to prison. But I think his attorneys paid off.
Oh yeah. No, definitely that's always a bonus to have some money. But I think that the real thing is that I think that when we look at stuff, we have to really look at the charges when they're doing certain stuff. Like I think that he could have went to jail for some time. I just don't know if he was gonna go to jail for the charges like they put him. You got to remember, even though Lucy's life was lost, her dad got on the stand and said that he had testified that he sent his daughter with George because George didn't seem impaired. So that takes the drinking. That's strong to hear that. That rings in my head every time when I'm thinking about this. All the people that got up there and testified, they're all like, okay, I didn't see anything wrong with him, his wife. I didn't see anything wrong with him. And these are people that were like really affected, even the passenger. So especially Lucy's dad, like that resonated, his testimony in regards to He would have never sent his daughter with George if he thought George was intoxicated.
Yeah. Is your YouTube open? I kind of hear me echoing. I don't know.
Let me see.
I don't know. Maybe. Well,
You
no,
probably, you may hear noise in my background versus to anything on YouTube.
okay. It's like when I talk, I can hear myself echo. I don't know.
Still,
Okay, that's better. Thanks. It's like I'm shocked, but I'm not shocked. Who was it? I was watching a channel yesterday and they said, I think if it comes back a quick verdict, that it'll be not guilty. Because usually a fast verdict is guilty. But y'all, that was less than 2 hours. So, and if it really was 5 men, 1 woman, I wonder if anybody will talk. I do think maybe the jurors, maybe they didn't like the prosecutor. People have been saying this was overcharged. And I don't think he did it on purpose. And I'm not even sure he was really drunk. I mean, I heard from somebody that has connections with him in Miami, and they said he's really not known to be a big drinker. So, but God, I feel so bad for Lucy's family. And then I read somewhere that they didn't sue them civilly. And I guess like everybody had to do civil lawsuits at one time. I'm not really sure how that works. It was preventable. But I would say that all paid off. I was going to see if do you have like a Miami station or anything that's doing a press conference on the courthouse steps?
I'm not the best presser finder in the crew. I can almost admit to that. I usually have my chat kind of like see if there's any pressers. We can take a moment and try to see.
Yeah.
But I never can find them. Let me see. I'm sure his attorneys are going to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right, Little Miss Red Velvet. There was no proof that he was impaired. And I never really thought that was it. I mean, because if he had been wasted, I think we would have proof of that. I think they proved legal doubt. When the guy messed up the tides, I think that was huge. The paid the expert for the prosecution, it wasn't a good look. Okay, glad that the echo was better. I think if we just alternate our mutes. Thank you. Yeah, it wasn't a DUI charge. I feel like though they went in there, I mean, they didn't need to deliberate. I think they all looked at each other and said, "What are y'all thinking?" And everybody agreed. They didn't change somebody's opinion unless they're all like, "I need to get back to work. I don't really care, whatever." Yeah, it doesn't matter if he was intoxicated. Yeah, it wasn't about that. But this is Take It to Trial. Just great channel. I'll put it in the chat. And she's also known as Sweet Pea.
Yeah, I'm looking to see if I see anything at all. Far as pressers, I know his attorneys. I know they got to speak because they did a wonderful. I mean, like they did it. It reminds me of the Rick Child verdict. I don't know if you saw that trial. We just watched that a couple weeks ago in South Carolina, and his attorneys, the defense attorneys, decided no lessers,
Mm-hmm.
and he was found not guilty.
Thank you, Mia, for posting. Wow. I hope he's not taking any kids with him on a celebratory cruise. There's no winner in this though. I mean, there's always going to be a divide with these kids, the family friendships. Like there's just, yeah, Amy, I agree. It was a very quick verdict to come back. They didn't take long. I think they got in there and what do you call it? A straw vote or something? Maybe they got dinner. Because usually they'll get you food when you're deliberating.
Oh, what's his 4, 5, 6, 7? So it's about 7 o'clock there. Is that right?
Yep.
Oh wow, yeah, they had dinner.
Hmm.
They definitely had dinner. I'm just trying to see if Court TV is gonna have anything for is a press conference. That's the only place that I would know to go.
Yeah.
Besides Tampa 10, maybe one of the local stations. But I think maybe it would be Tampa 10 that would be covering it. Let me see if Tampa 10 got anything. Yeah, but I kind of figured that, I don't know. It has never been like, I kind of figured he was going to be not guilty. Here we go. Is this it? No, this somebody else. Okay. I'm like, oh, they got something live, but it's something else. Not guilty. Nope, not up yet. Yeah, but I kind of figured because a certain fact that his that dad's statement, and his daughter passed away, and Lucy's dad's statement. I'm telling you, like that's the first thing I think of when I think of any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's his statement, and I don't know how you get around stuff like that when you hear statements like that. I don't know how, certain things just resonate, and I'm not sure what resonated with the. And the defense was actually pretty good. I think if they would have had some alcohol levels on him, I think that would have made it more blatant. But I really did think also on the other side with the 9 seconds, I thought the 9 second was powerful. As many
Mm-hmm.
times as she did it, I know that y'all probably didn't get all the way through it, the closings, but you should have got to. She did the 9 seconds. I think she did it multiple times, but I think that was very powerful to say, in those 9 seconds, all the things that could have been done differently for him. But I mean, like we talking about real time speed, so there's that also.
This was just a few minutes ago in Miami on their NBC feed. Wow. I keep thinking maybe they'll show. I'm sure the attorneys will speak outside, I would think. Yeah, I feel really bad for the Fernandez family.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, Leslie, I don't know if they're beefing or anything. I know they may be hurt, but I don't know if the families are really beefing like that.
Yeah, so I talked to somebody who knows them, and basically they know one of the witnesses. Anyhow, long story, but yeah, the Fernandezes and the Pinos, it's not good. Like they've gotten in verbal arguments at mass. I mean, oh my God, look at that, y'all. That's like, look at the dad. Look at Lucy's dad. It's like when your team loses the game. Well, that's not even a good analogy, but you see everybody celebrating. Mm, yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't make them have any more courtroom decorum than that. Like,
Mhm.
Make them leave out, or at least let his family or the victim's family leave out before all this celebration and all of this stuff took place. Or,
Mhm.
I mean, because it's nothing like, because if it was the other side and he was found guilty, the judge would immediately tell people you are not allowed to say anything. You cannot scream out. She would immediately say something like that. So I'm wondering how this went down like this.
Yeah. She had no control of that courtroom. I mean, she never saw George saying stuff. I didn't like how it was set up. I thought it was weird. The defendant, basically, his elbow could have been resting on that jury wall there. I mean, so that squeaking we were hearing today, that was him being antsy in his chair because the courtroom feed thing is right there. I always thought the jury would be near the prosecutor's table. I thought that was, y'all want Sweet Pea to turn up her volume. Okay. Yeah, not
Turn up my mic
guilty.
value. Is that better? Like this morning, Monday, I woke up and came and I had Monday morning blues with everything that worked, that should work, that didn't work, that tried to work. So my apology. Is that better?
We're alternating our mutes so that we don't get the feedback. Amy Murray says, probably, I can't believe I got off not guilty. I'm free. Yeah. The 9 seconds was considerable. Disappointed. It does seem wrong. I think he was probably overcharged. Yeah. I still think that this case will have an impact down there because people are going to think, well, I don't have his resources to hire those attorneys. I bet Wendy's looking at that attorney now. Yeah, Butterfly Face says, I do not think the families speak anymore. I wonder if any of the jurors will come forward and interview. Marianne Bummer. I'm surprised.
At
I
a later
thought
time.
something would happen. Not this. Well, I guess there's no more point in streaming this because we all know how it ends. But
What you say? You know how it ends.
yeah.
Well, I can tell you from us listening to it, closing arguments on both sides were way, way too long.
Yeah.
And that's from both sides, like absolutely too long. So if that helps in regards to that. But yeah, it's just really sad. I can't believe they doing that with him in the courtroom. They don't have no chill. But I know when you was mentioning about the way George was set up, I found that to be so rude. After the first day with his ugly cry, he was sitting with his attorney. Then it was George and a couple more attorneys. Then we have the jury. I don't know how, as we went further and further into the trial, he got closer and closer and closer to the jury. Today he was clutching his beads, shaking his head, whispering, mouthing. They see all of this. So the judge, I don't know what she doing. I think maybe she was doing word search. We said she was doing her word search part. I don't know what she was doing. That she wasn't catching these things, and it made the prosecutor look like the worst person ever, or petty, because she was bringing it up whenever she had a chance, an opportunity. And I just found that to be so, not good.
Yeah, I agree. And he was wearing that pen that some people have said meant the Holy Spirit, the bird pen. And I felt like that was like right there, for the jury to see right there. And I did notice he kind of scooted down the table through the trial. And then at the end, he was like on the corner of the table. I mean, you can't get any closer. Yeah. I mean, but I mean, just seeing Lucy's dad's face right here, his expression, that's heartbreaking. Yeah. Y'all need to go and see the Lucy Fernandez website, though. It's great for her foundation. You think this could be a documentary? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they make everything else out of one, so I wouldn't be. You say Wendy, he's signing them up real quick.
Yeah. But that's what I think. Wendy's going to hire this guy.
And they really think charges are going to be brought against Wendy?
We're praying.
Okay.
I know. You never know.
Okay. Yeah, I just so sad. So sad. Christian, I see you in the chat. Did you see anything with any pressers? That's a good go-to person for all types of stuff.
Does anybody know why the judge didn't want chats going during the live stream, but then it could, like, when the day ended? I mean, what does that matter? It was weird. Do you know, Sweet Pea?
No, I don't think we ever heard anything. I think we just assumed that maybe it was, maybe something like with the Alicia Andrews trial that happened, and they were going through the chat and seeing things in the chat of what people were saying, but I don't see what difference it makes. But I don't know. I think some judges get really like controlly or something. I don't know.
I mean, my only guess is she didn't want the attorney seeing that. That wouldn't even make sense. I don't know what it matters. I mean, we've seen trials where it's not live streamed, but court TV can film it, and then when that day is over, they can send it. But I've never seen disabling the live chat. We all said in my chat that we felt like the judge was playing Candy Crush. That's what we thought she was doing. And one day I think she fell asleep because then she kind of looks around like, did anybody see that? Yeah, it was a 6-person jury because I think murder 1 is when you have a 12-person jury. I'm not sure because I just did federal jury duty and we had 12 on the jury and it was not a murder case, but federal is very different. Kristen says something is just not right about this trial. Let's just say money talks. Yep. I mean, let me tell you, those attorneys, he spent millions.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. I believe it. And that's why they did the play that they did, the way they did it at the end.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's definitely not justice. And I don't think the Fernandezes filed a wrongful death civil suit, but
I think they have.
they did. But it said it was all settled, is what they said in court. They said everything was settled. So we don't know what they got. Yeah, money saving. Virginia, that's a good comment. Quilting, you think he was overcharged? Yep. Money saving him again, entitlement. I mean, again, this is the privilege that these rich people get because, I mean, most people would have had a public defender.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not that's I'm telling you, it's a mirror example, and I think that people are getting a little better in regards to what they're asking for when they're getting their charges. Just watched another trial, manslaughter for 2 victims, but it was a cop. He had no lights and sirens and unalived 2 people. And comes down to it, the manslaughter charge is too high and the defense declines any lessers. So the jury is stuck with what they have.
Wow. What were the sentencing possibilities? It was like 15 to 30 years. So I think it was an overcharge. I guess he
Yeah.
was like, joke's on you when they offered him the 60 days, and we were like, what a fool to not take the plea deal. I mean, I would have taken that.
Yeah, just because you know that you are guilty of something, right? Just the guilt of you would want to sit down in the cell for 60 days for something.
Right.
But in the same token, I just think I don't know if they could have charged it like involuntary, because I just think something is different when you say somebody with manslaughter versus to involuntary manslaughter. It just seems different to me. And they didn't have involuntary manslaughter. They had homicide. Like that sound like you went out here and tried to redrum somebody. I'm like, wow.
That's a good point. I mean, was involuntary manslaughter, is anybody familiar with that in Florida? Was that an option? because that's what it should have been. It's voluntary manslaughter option. Okay, so involuntary manslaughter is an option in Florida, though the state's criminal statutes do not explicitly use the terms voluntary or involuntary. Instead, Florida law groups both under the single umbrella of manslaughter, which encompasses unintentional killings resulting from recklessness or criminal negligence. So that's what it was. I feel like that the prosecutor should have done a better job explaining that. Um, I didn't realize that. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and the judge also, the defense was able to get certain things that they didn't want when we was looking at the jury instructions and the charges. Like there were certain things that they were able to keep out for us, how she was gonna do that instruction, even when it came down to the reasonable doubt. Like that's all good, lawyering, like lawyers being lawyers. But my poor prosecutor lady, she, I don't know how she gonna make it. She might lose her stuff tonight, cause she don't like George. And yeah,
Yeah.
I worry for her.
She poured a lot of work into it. And I worry about, I don't know. I don't want to say that he would do something bad, but like now she's just made a very rich, successful man in Miami mad. Mm, okay. Land says, don't act like you don't agree. This case was an absolute joke, and it took a jury less than 2 hours to get this debacle of a case to be decided. Yeah. Yes. Thanks, Sidebar Snoop. And thanks, everybody. Well, we'll have to plan another one another time.
We didn't have much of a verdict watch, huh? I was like, oh my goodness, I got in here set up right on time, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Well,
thanks to Leanne for letting us know.
yeah, absolutely. It's kind of hard sometimes when we multitask and trying to do stuff. So yeah, awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, but yeah. What do you have anything that you're going to be covering next? I know that you do your book club and
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard because I work full time, so it's hard to really cover a live trial. So
yeah, yeah, I get that. Definitely
yeah.
understand that one.
Yeah, which one are you going to cover? Huh?
We are going into he is an ex-football player. Well, not ex-football player. He's a ex-coach scout, and he is accused of poisoning his baby mama while she was pregnant. Almost kind of reminds me of a Corey Richards. His name is going to be, look, I don't even know his name, Blythe Taylor. He's facing 2 counts of first-degree redrum for poisoning his 25-year-old girlfriend. And it's so strange because she was on the phone with one of her friends and she said her drink tastes funny, not knowing, and it happened on her birthday. I'm like so mad at this man. Like I got all the hate. I'm gonna take all my hate out from this trial and the other trial on him.
Was it fentanyl?
No, they said cocaine. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how those Coca-Cola drugs and I don't know how the D-rugs work, but yeah, they saying Coca-Cola. He gave her a little Coca-Cola.
Wow.
Yeah, and on her birthday, she pregnant with her first child, and this is what he do. If that's not, like, really?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so it kind of reminds me like the Corey Richards, because I'm wondering what they're going to try to say she poisoned herself.
What state is it?
This is in Tennessee.
Oh, that's Ryan.
Oh, yep, it starts tomorrow.
Do you know what city?
Let's see. Oh, I had that thing up. me pull it up. 'Cause I was looking at his documents.
Mia, she said that she did taste it. Tasted funny with the stuff. Yeah.
And I was like, well, gosh, if she tasted it and it tasted funny, did she not stop drinking? What happened? Like, I don't know. I don't know, but I know it happened on her birthday. It's very, very sad. And no, I can't see where it's at besides in Tennessee
I'm gonna look it
at
up.
this point in time.
Let's see. Cocaine.
I know
Oh,
I had seen an indictment. I had it up, but I done probably pulled up so many.
it's in Nashville.
Okay, Nashville. Okay,
Well,
I
that's
know
where
I
I live. All right, I'll just go on down to the courthouse.
would you say you'll go down to the courthouse? You'll go see what the jury look like. That's the only part that I would want to see. What is the jury makeup?
Yeah.
Everything else I can watch on TV, but let me see what the jury makeup is.
Wow. I see. I didn't even know this was going on. I should. I'll go over there and look at the jury.
Yeah, let us know. Yes, opening statements tomorrow.
See, this makes me sad that I work. Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited, little Miss Red Velvet. You got a food truck. I'm gonna go over there tomorrow. Nashville. Just don't draw them, Leslie. Yeah, I can't draw them and label them. And what did the Corey Richards person do? I mean, they did like sketches and stuff.
No. Oh yeah, don't do that. Let's go in there and see who's who, because they picked the jury today. So jury selection happened today. So we should be ready for opening statements tomorrow, from my understanding.
I'm gonna see who his attorney is.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
It
see.
looked like his dad is a coach there too.
Oh, here, I'm gonna share this at Titans. We have to see it.
Are you okay? I tried to use this software to streamline my team's workflow, but I can't get any support.
A special tax district where future homeowners would pay an extra fee on top of their property taxes.
This is the news. Well, that was just his picture from last year.
Yeah, I know that he had some type of pre-trial hearing, and her best friend actually speaks. I think the clip is like maybe 2 minutes. Pure heartbreak. I just don't even understand. It was the friend that she was on the phone with, I believe, telling in regards to the drink tasting funny.
Let's see.
Today in Nashville, former Titans scout Blaze Taylor is accused of poisoning his pregnant girlfriend, leading to her death and the death of their unborn child. Fox 17 News reporter Chris Knowles is live this morning with a look at what we're expecting today.
Jennifer, jury selection is expected to start in a case that has drawn attention not only across Middle Tennessee, but across the NFL community. Blaze Taylor, he is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of felony murder. Prosecutors say Taylor poisoned his girlfriend, 25-year-old Jay Benning, without her knowledge while visiting her in a Nashville apartment in February of 2023. Benning was rushed to the hospital after Taylor called 911, reporting she had appeared to be having an allergic reaction. Her unborn child died days later, followed by Benning's death on March 6th. Taylor, a former Tennessee Titans scout, has pleaded not guilty. Prosecutors are seeking a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole, and Taylor remains out on a $2.5 million bond and is required to wear a GPS monitor. Fox 17 News will be inside the courtroom, providing with the latest updates and developments on this case throughout the duration of the trial. I'm Chris Knowles reporting.
I wonder if who's streaming the trial.
LNC and Court TV.
Wow.
Yeah, it's gonna be live streamed. Yeah, I seen Kathy had put it up like last week, at the end of last week. That's how I found out about it.
Let me see what it says. This is
This is WSMV4 News.
Good morning, and thank you so much for tuning in here to WSMV4 Plus. I am Danielle Ledbetter. So to the trial of Blaze Taylor, it starts right now, 9 o'clock Monday morning. Now, if you are unfamiliar, Blaze Taylor is accused of murdering his girlfriend and their unborn child. He's accused of actually poisoning her. So this is a picture of her. Her name is Jade Benning. She died. This happened all back in.
Oh, hold up. I think I know the judge. Hold on. I gotta go.
Oh, nice. Look, see? Look.
I know, but this is, yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I'm gonna be streaming this because I said, I am like, I wonder, and he out on bail? Because typically when,
I don't think so.
I think they said 2.5, he out on bail and with a monitor. No? Is that not what I just heard?
This must be old footage they're showing.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to look at this judge.
2023, and according to a medical examiner, they said that she died from intense levels of cocaine in her system. Now, one of the medical examiners, they concluded basically that she had so much cocaine in her system that it could not have been a recreational use overdose or anything like that. They concluded that she had been poisoned. And so with all of that information, that led investigators to accuse Blaze Taylor in her murder. But let's listen to some of that sound from the medical examiner who kind of broke down why they deduced that Jade had been poisoned.
It's a large amount of cocaine to be in the blood. So she has 7,878 nanograms per milliliter. The reporting limit starts at 10 nanograms per milliliter.
And so again, like I mentioned, the trial for Taylor, it starts today. It started at 9 o'clock this morning. That's when jury selection was slated to start. So we do have people there that are tracking the developments that will come out today. But again, this just got underway at 9 o'clock this morning. Now, to kind of go through what happened, what we know about the events that led up to this trial that is starting today, we know that Blaze Taylor is a former scout for the Tennessee Titans, and he will face a jury in the alleged killing of his girlfriend and unborn baby. So he is again accused of poisoning his girlfriend and killing their unborn child. Again, that's allegedly. He allegedly fathered that child. This happened back in February of 2023. So Jade Benning, back in 2023, she was rushed to Vanderbilt University Medical Center by an ambulance after Taylor called 911 and told them that Benning appeared to be having some type of allergic reaction, and he called for paramedics. Now, police said Benning's condition immediately became critical, and her unborn baby died on February 27th. Now, she passed away, Benning, a week later on March 6th of 2023, but in that week time, she was not able to be interviewed by detectives or by police, and that information is according to police themselves. Now, police said, how do we get to this trial today? Well, they said they had months of investigation that was led by homicide detectives, scientists, doctors, and more. And they said all of that information led them to believe that Taylor was responsible for this. So during a previous court hearing, again, I just played that sound for you. A medical examiner testified that Benning had so much cocaine in her system that she could not have died from just recreational use. And so we also, back when this originally happened, when Blaze was arrested, and we got more information on what led investigators to believe that Blaze was responsible, we interviewed some people who knew Jade, and she was a chef here in Nashville. And this is how they remembered her back in 2024 when we did this story.
It was relieving. We know it's not the end, but it's definitely relieving to know that, there's been another step made in this process and that Jade will get the justice that she needs.
So that is a picture of Blaze there as a former scout for the Tennessee Titans. Between the time when he was arrested or after this incident first happened and up until he got arrested, he was actually had another job in Utah. But this is kind of what we know about his trial that's happening today. So let me pull up another video for us to take a look at. This is another picture, or this is one of Jade's friends that alleges like there's no way that this could have happened. She alleged that in court and said that on the stand. Now, these are some more pictures of Jade Benning, who was just 25. She actually passed away right near her 25th birthday. And this is, you know, where this all happened back in 2023 here in Nashville. And, you know, that is how we got here today. So the trial, again, it starts today. Jury selection should have started about 6 minutes ago at 9 o'clock this morning. And just we will get a better idea of what is to happen with this trial that's been months and months in the making. We first broke this story to you back in 2024 when he was first arrested. And I'm going to pull up some more information about that and how we got here today. Again, this happened back in March of 2024 is when he was first arrested. He was arrested by Deputy U.S. Marshals at the request of Metro Nashville Police. Again, I told you a little earlier, he had a job in Utah, and so he was arrested in Utah after this grand jury indictment. So he worked as a pro scout for the Titans for 4 years. That's according to his own LinkedIn profile. And it's also important to mention his father is Trooper Taylor, who is the former University of Tennessee assistant coach. Now, Blaze, again, is accused of poisoning Jade Benning on February 25th, 2023. So that is what led us here today. So again, I ran through everything that happened. We know Benning was rushed to that Vanderbilt University Medical Center after Taylor called 911, and we know she ultimately passed away on March 6th of 2023. So after she passed away, this is what I was recapping a little earlier. After Jade passed away, Taylor moved to Utah and he worked with former Arkansas State coach Blake Anderson at Utah State University as a senior defensive analyst. Now, Utah State officials said he left the university for another position at another institution on March 1st of 2024. So that's where we are today. This trial is just now getting underway, but we are tracking it all and bringing you the latest from that and learning what evidence. That's something that we will take a look at. We'll learn, you know, more about.
Okay, so Take It to Trial is with us. And you might want to mute because it echoes. I'm sorry. She is going to cover this trial, and it's in Nashville where I live, and I didn't even know about it. And you want to know why that I didn't know? Because I don't watch the local news, and I'm embarrassed. But I don't work too far from the courthouse. I definitely can't go tomorrow, but on Wednesday, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to take a look at the jury and everything. And I'm pumped to go check this out. So I will be y'all's, I don't know, boots on the ground, if you want to say. And then some of y'all were asking about the Nancy Guthrie ransom note. So So remember that when Savannah came on, and she was like, "We hear you," or "We understand. We will be grateful for her return to celebrate her." And I was saying, I think they're saying she's been, done with. And people were like, "No, I don't think that's it." But um, that's just my opinion. But I don't know. I mean, they were looking for her skeletal remains over the weekend. What do you think?
You have, oh, With Nancy, no comment. I didn't follow the case, and I'm here in Arizona. I just found that everything is weird. I'm here in Arizona. I'm not that far. I'm like maybe 2 hours from where everything is going down. It just, I don't understand it. So when I don't understand things, I kind of like take myself away from it when it's too much going on.
I think that sheriff is suspect, and I still think the family. Some people were speculating that maybe I listened to that FBI lady. She's real pretty. She's got long blonde hair. She's former FBI, and they were still saying they think maybe this is like they know who's in on it, but they're not saying. I don't know. I go down rabbit holes on it all, but Little Miss Red Velvet, you can't decide what you have in my food truck. And in case y'all are new here, the reason I have food trucks is because Wendy, when she was in her interview, she said that she went to the food trucks last night. She spent hours meeting a new friend of a friend, Malia. I'm like, nobody's going to the food trucks. So we're the food truck gang. That's why that's my emoji or whatever. Maureen. Yeah. FOMO, Susie Q. Yeah, it was Maureen. She was on, she has a show with like a former Chicago detective, and they just started it a few months ago, but they were just kind of chatting stuff out about Nancy, and it was interesting. And apparently Thomaso, I call him Tomato, and the brother of Annie and Savannah, I can picture him, Cameron, I think, do not get along. Like they can't even be in the same room together. The food truck is Sigfredo. That's right, Forensic, because it was 0.2 miles from where the rental car was. So, yeah, but anyhow, but I will go and be y'all's boot on the ground, and I'll send you the report. And then maybe I can do like join one night for a little wrap up show or something. I'd love to do that, to come on and say hi.
Oh, that would be awesome. Or anytime,
Yeah.
anytime that you want to, come on. We here, I'm on here all day and all night. All day and all night.
Well, that's awesome. This will be a good trial to Blaze. But oh, FOMO. Yeah, the verdict came out. It's on the ticker on my channel, but sorry.
My poor Susie.
All right. Well, I know we're echoing, but I'm just gonna say bye, but this was a shorter night than I imagined.
It's okay. Yeah, I'm gonna figure it out. It may be from my end. I've never done like the dual streaming. I tried to make sure I didn't have anything open, but that's not to say I don't have anything open. But yeah.
It's all right. Well, y'all, thanks for coming in, and we'll do another one soon, but I'll report back and let y'all know what it looked like in the courtroom. Thanks. Good night.
Thank you all for riding with me till the truth brings victory. I'm Leslie B, justice seeker, story keeper, and we're still watching, waiting for justice.